So we are on page 8. We're going to get started. We have our palette, our paints here, and water, paper towel, black pen, any black pen. It doesn't matter which one. Here's my paper towel. Any black pen. I'm just using a quick one. Okay. Our first task today is to mix some paint. So with one of your brushes, we're going to mix a little bit more paint than we did yesterday or last class. So last class we mixed like a chocolate chip size. This time we're going to mix a little bit more. So what we're going to first do is make an orange. So I'm going to take some yellow. So see, I'm doing a little bit more this time. And then after I take yellow, I'm going to clean my brush. We're making orange. Okay, so our first step is to make orange. So I'm going to make some orange with my red and yellow. Mix it around. If it's too red, which oftentimes mine is too red. Yep, this is too red. I need a little bit more yellow. So I'm going to clean my brush. Cleaning my brush over here. Squeezing it out so there's no more red. I see more red. I need to clean more. And then adding some yellow to it to make a nice orangey orange. I don't know. Okay, so make your orange. Clean your brush. And remember, we made browns as your homework. So we're going to make this brown here, which is orange plus blue. So this is like our recipes for these mixtures. So we're making this brown. We have the orange. We need to add in blue, but we're going to add just a little bit of blue. So going to my blue, you can always add more blue, but start with a little less blue. Just put it off to the side. Just add a little bit of blue and really mix. You're trying to get a brown. And these are opposite colors. They're called complementary colors. And so complementary colors make brown. So I'm getting my brown here. That's a pretty good brown. So you just took a little bit of blue to get that. And once you get that, you're going to, on page 7, wait, let me see, 8, on page 8, we're on page 8. You're going to put a little swatch, just a little one, on the top left corner of page 8. And then you're going to write a note about that. And the note is that this is, make a little arrow. This is our note on how we made this color. Because we want to know for the future, if we like this color, how we made it. So it is orange plus a little blue. Okay, orange plus a little blue. Our second color we're mixing is going to be a green that's kind of on the yellow side. I'm going to take some yellow, put it down here, clean my brush, take some green, some blue, put it down here, mix it together, and I can already tell I need more yellow, and it's just not enough. I'm not making enough. You want to make a little bit more than we did before, because we're going to paint 4 trees today. So more yellow. Make a nice yellow-green, or green on the yellow side. And And sometimes painters add just a little bit of water, just like one drop to this amount of paint to make it flow a little better. I want to make even more. Okay, so I'm making a yellow green here. There we go. Now I have enough. Yeah, it's starting to get less yellow, more blue. So see how painters just are constantly mixing and adjusting their paint. Okay, so I was adjusting it to add more yellow. Okay, so there is my green. Okay, and I'm going to put a swatch over here and I'm going to write yellow plus blue, right? That's what we did to get that color. So go ahead and do that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a darker green. So I'm just going to take some of my green, put it down in a pile, take some of my brown and mix them together. Green plus brown. Okay, and I'm going to make a darker green. Okay, and I want mine even darker, so I'm going to take a little bit more brown. Okay, it's going to be kind of like an army green, but you want it to be significantly different than this green. So that's why I keep adding little bits of my brown to it. Okay, this is my darker green. And then I'm going to swatch it right here. And I'm going to say, this was my green plus my brown. So I'm going to take my small round brush. So not the flat one. Here's my flat one, nice and flat. This is my small round brush. And it is good to get it just a little bit wet and kind of point it just a little bit to start out. And what you're going to do is you're going to go into the brown, just the tip into the brown, not a lot, just the tip. I don't know if you can see, it's just on the tip. It's not up in here. Painters really don't like it in there. And we're going to make tree trunks on page 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to make 2 tree trunks here. Start at the top with the tip, with just the tip of the brush. I'm going to slowly just drag the tip. And as I go down, I'm going to push more. And I'm going to get, ooh, I did not get a thicker, I had too much water on my brush. More paint,
Something
less
clear
water.
here on the
I'll
congressional side. Democrats had many plans and hopes for winning back.
Line down at the bottom. Okay, do that again. So 2, 1, 2. One up here, thin, press down, thicker. This is a tree trunk. It doesn't matter too much what it looks like because we're going to cover most of it up. Okay, and then I want you to do 2 down below. So we're going to have a tree, we're going to have some notes here, and then we're going to do a tree here. So thin on the tippy toes, you can really see I made that really dramatic. But slowly press down and you get more of the trunk. And it doesn't matter if it's doesn't matter if it's kind of like that, scratchy like that, doesn't matter. So tip, pressure, more pressure, more pressure. It doesn't even matter if it's 100% straight. Tree trunks aren't straight anyways. So those are your tree trunks, 4 tree trunks on page 8 with your brown. Now we're going to switch to our flat, small flat brush. Small flat brush. And we're going to use our dark green, my dark green here. And I'm just putting just the tips in just a little bit on the tip. And we're going to do something called touch and pull. So I'm holding my brush straight up and down, and I'm touching and I'm pulling. Touch and pull. I'm going to make a evergreen tree. Touch and pull. Make sure you go over your trunk as you do this, and make sure that you use all the paint in the brush before you get new paint. Okay, because that'll give you a variety of value. So just touch and pull, touch and pull, touch and pull. Go over the trunk. Now we didn't paint anything underneath this, so you are going to see some of the paper underneath, and that's okay. But normally we would have some underpainting there, and you don't want to make the two sides exactly the same. So like this side here, I have a little area that's a little bit not as full. I'm not going to try to patch that. I want it to be different on the left than it is on the right, because trees in nature are different. They're not exactly the same. If you were near a window and you could observe trees, that would be awesome, because you will notice that they are not the same. Okay, so that is called touch and pull. Then I'm going to get my lighter green on my brush, so just a little bit of the lighter green on my brush, and this is going to be our highlight. Okay, and our highlight is where the sun hits. So for this tree, the sun's going to hit on the right. So just on the right side, ooh, that was a lot. I'm going to do some touching and pulling to get that lighter green in there. And then I can do a little bit on the left, just maybe in a few places where the light might hit, but mostly on the right. And that is our highlight with the light green. And as it dries, you're going to see this a lot better. Okay. And then I'm going to take my brown again, and I'm going to make a shadow. So the light is coming from the right. So the shadow is going to go down and to the left. So see how it kind of goes down and to the left, because our light source is from the right. I am going to write here what I did. So this was touch and pull with small black. And artists do this in their journals, because you're going to see different trees here, and you can go back and go, how did I make that tree? And these notes are important, because then you'll know how you made that tree. No artist remembers all of this. They write notes. So we're going to stay with our flat brush, our small flat brush, and we're going to get some dark green on the tippy toes of the brush. And we're going to do what's called pouncing. And pouncing is just straight up and down, like bouncing like this. And I'm going to kind of go like this, and you want to go left and right. And I'm kind of curving up and going over the tree trunk, pouncing. This is more like a cedar tree that goes up a little bit like that. And I'm using all of the paint on my brush before I get new paint, because that's going to give me darks and lights. Okay, so I'm just pouncing straight up and down, pouncing on the edge or the tips of the brush. Okay, and there can be variation in the length. It doesn't have to be like a triangle or anything like that. Okay, and there can be some different areas here. And most people, after they do this, they think that this tree looks more realistic than the first tree they did. But if you'd never had done this tree, you would have thought that that was more realistic. But it's kind of in the eye of the beholder, right? Everybody has a different idea of what a tree looks like in their head. Like I had said before, if you could look out in the window and see trees are not even, you can see parts of the trunk through the trees, that kind of thing. So I'm just pouncing, 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 pouncing. Okay, when I get it mostly filled in, I'm going to have my light source be from the left side this time. So I'm going to get my lighter green on the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to pounce with the lighter green on the left side and fill in some of that area. This is the highlight, or where the sun hits the tree. You can go on the top a little bit and a few places on the right. I'm going to go back to my darker green and fill a little bit in. Make sure you go over that trunk. That's really important.
I
Forgot, I have to add in my shadow. So I'm just going to, the light is coming from the left this time. So I'm going to take my shadow off to the right. And it's going to be kind of thicker here down at the base, and it's going to go over there. And then I also have to write in what I did. So I pounced with a small black brush. That is how I made that tree, pouncing with a small flat brush. We're going to do a tree down here, but we're going to change our brush to our small round brush. And we're going to do something called splaying the brush. So you're going to take the bristles of the small round brush and you're going to slowly separate them out. And so this is a splayed small round brush. Again, I just took the bristles in my fingers, it's clean, and I pulled them apart. That is a splayed brush. And so you want your brush to be splayed. It looks like basically like a really used brush, but you want your small round brush to be splayed when you do your next one. And your next one is going to be the pounce again, but with the splayed. So as I put the tips of the paint of the brush in the paint, you can see it's just a little bit of paint. Okay, just getting the tips in, and I'm going to pounce again, pounce back and forth, and it's going to make a different mark. Okay, all these brushes, they make a different mark. Maybe I'll have some go down a little at a different angle. Okay, I'm just going to keep filling in, pouncing with a splayed brush. And actually, I think we're getting more and more realistic with these trees as we go along with these techniques. And I'm just barely touching the tips to the piece of paper. Okay, just barely touching. And I'm pouncing, pouncing with my splayed brush. Okay, and as I go along, I'm going to add my highlights to the right side. So I'm going to use my lighter green, getting just a little bit of lighter green and going in on my right side and pouncing just very lightly, like barely kissing the paper with my splayed brush. And you can do it a little bit on the left, just a little bit, to have a little bit of highlight there, but mostly the highlight is going to be on the right. And once I get my highlight in, don't forget to go over your trunk. I'm going to go back with more of my darker green on the left because it looks a little bare. Okay. This almost looks like a Douglas fir tree. Okay, and then I'm just going to clean my brush and get my brown, which I'm almost out of brown, and do, oh, it goes to the left. Do my shadow to the left it is thicker here at the bottom, and there's my shadow, kind of goes down towards diagonally. You could even add a little bit of green if you really wanted to down there like that. And I'm going to write in what I did. So this was a splayed round brush with pouncing. Our last tree is going to be with our round brush not splayed. So get it wet, really, really, really clean it, and then kind of push those bristles back together again. And we're going to make a deciduous tree this time. And so these are ones that lose their leaves, like maybe a vine maple or an aspen or a birch. And so I'm going to take my dark color and I'm going to do something called touch and push. Okay, so I'm going to touch and push. And it's going to start, you know, kind of getting a little scratchy because this is all with one little bit of paint. And I'm pushing upwards. And then I'm going to get some more paint. And I'm kind of making like a rounded tree form. Touch and push. Don't forget to go over the tree trunk. Touch and push. And we're doing a deciduous tree not in the fall. Okay, so in the fall, it might have some little bits of orange or red or yellow or lighter brown. See, I'm kind of making it more rounded at the top, fuller, rounder, and kind of coming like this. So touch and push. And it does splay your brush as you do it. It makes your brush look well, a cheap brush, which you guys have. Don't have the cheapest brushes, but I didn't give you super expensive brushes to start painting. I actually prefer the cheap brushes anytime I paint, even if I am painting professionally, which I don't do very often. So, but cheaper brushes are great. Okay. So after I do the touch and push, I'm going to get my lighter green and I'm going to put my highlight in. And so for my highlight, I'm going to put it on the left side of the tree. So I'm just going to fill that in around the top of the tree, even on the right side, making sure to go over my trunk here. And I'm just filling in with the lighter color. I can go back to my darker color and fill in the right side. Okay, so the light is coming from the left. Just touch and push. I can do my shadow off to the right. And you notice how I do this is I'm not just taking my brush and drawing a line, but I'm zigzagging it. See how I'm just zigzagging, and moving around a lot. It should actually come down here, but there we go. So that was a round brush, touch, and push. And that's a different kind of tree. And when you're all done, get your brush wet and pinch it back together. I'm kind of pinching and twisting to repair that brush. It's really important that it's clean down in here. If paint gets down in there and dries, it will never come out. So really, really, really clean your brush a couple of times and do this where you're pushing those bristles back together because we just kind of damage them a little bit. So I'm just kind of twirling it into a little point like that. Okay. Now you're going to have a homework assignment that's going to be on page 9, and the assignment is going to be to do all of this all over again. So you're going to have another 4 trees: touch and pull, pounce with small flat, pounce with splayed round, and round, touch and push. And if we were in regular class, you would be practicing this daily for about 2 weeks. So me having you do one more page of it is like the minuscule amount that I would normally do for practices. Painters practice just like athletes, and they practice a lot. In fact, I've seen painters fill a book of just tree paintings for practice. So this is definitely something that you want to practice on, and that'll be your homework. And I will put a video up on Canvas about that.